Those are your lads who remember John. John and I started our professional racing lives back when John worked for another American-based manufacturer, Ford. And I was in his office begging for some motorcraft parts for the Ford that I was racing. And we just kind of hit it off, and as this business never ceases to amaze me in the relationships that it creates. The automobile evokes passion. It just does. There's just something about it. Somebody said, you know, when was the very first race? I said, the very first race was the moment the guy built the second car. Okay? Pretty simple math. And the relationships, similar to what John and I have had over the years, keeps you involved in this business. And it never fails that, you know, on a regular basis, you're reunited with those that have been in it for their lifetime and has made it their avocation. John runs not one of, but the best PMG, Professional Motorsports Group, out of Indianapolis, that specializes in doing this sort of thing. John recognized the need because John contracted for it. John knew all the things that he paid for and didn't get when he was at Ford, and figured out, you know, if somebody actually delivered on what they said they would, there could be a future in that business. This man is the best in the industry. Johnny, thank you, buddy, and you know, it's always good to see you. Thank you. Great company. We got a lot going on this weekend. It's quiet now. I'm on just a little bit of a short leash here, because those of you know I have to go to a Rolex dinner, because I have to suck up to those guys, see if I can get free stuff from them. It's actually worked out pretty well, I must say. So I don't want to live, and plus they have 4 of the prettiest girls on the planet that have worked for them for about the last 10 years, and it just makes doing business with them so pleasant. So I don't want to be real late for that, but you guys take precedence here. We're going to do a couple things. We'll end up with question and answer period, but I want to tell you, how many C7 owners do we have here? Very cool. Anybody totally dissatisfied with their C7? No one. Oh man, it doesn't get much better than that. What I'd like you to do, and I do this at every event, because I know a lot of you out there own products other than Chevrolets or Cadillacs or Silverados or GMC. Just the next time that you get ready to replace that Lexus or Audi or Mercedes or whatever it is you're driving, head on down to your Cadillac dealer, your Chevy dealer, your GMC dealer, your Buick dealer. Just take a test drive in something that you think is comparable. I just want you to see today. I am the harshest critic on the planet for the stuff we do, how we do it, and what we build. I mean, I am just, when I walk down the halls at the RenCen, lights go out and people duck down below the window so I don't see them in the office in case I got something to say to them. They don't want to hear what I have to say. Recently, I haven't had to do that. Stuff we're building now is not just pretty good, not just almost as good, not just good, it's better. I mean, we are making great stuff. And it's very important as you sign up for the t-shirts in the tent, you know, we follow you like the NSA and we watch what your buying habits are. You guys at Corvette Racing Group, out of all the sports events we do on a per capita basis, do the best job of supporting the corporation with what you buy, both in Corvettes and other products, whether it's a new Colorado, a pickup truck, or what have you. You're the best. And that's why we're still here, because our corporation tracks all that. That has value to them. And that's part of the return on investment they get out of Corvette Racing. So I want to thank you guys for that. I want you to continue that because it's of paramount importance. Give it a chance. If you don't like it, let me tell you what, I'm the first guy to say, go get what you want. That's the beauty of America. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised, and I know how many people in here, because there's got to be 1 or 2, there always is, I'm going out on a limb here, have listened to this spiel before, have owned an alternate product, have gone and driven what we build and said, you know what, I'm going to go do that. Is there anybody in here? Look around. That's more than accidental, okay? That's real time. So think about that. All right, I'm done selling. Let's talk racing. Anybody here yesterday for qualifying? How about that? You know, we never strive to win pole positions. You guys have listened to me yak endlessly for over the years, know that. We try and develop a car for the specific racetrack, for the specific event, to give a car that guys can drive comfortably in a variety of conditions, in traffic, rain, shine, hot, cold, something that they can maneuver and that they're really comfortable and solid with. If that happens to be really, really quick and get a pole, I mean, that's cool. But I mean, how many times you can count on one hand times we've won pole position. It takes a lot bigger abacus to count how many times we've won and kicked ass. And that's been our MO. So yesterday, looking at what we had seen with the timing charts and how practice had gone, we figured, you know what, we'll be second row. I mean, fourth and fifth would be good. That's probably where we should be, managing our own expectations. Guys get out running. There's no wind. It's feeling pretty good. They're reporting back, going good. They're running. If you saw it, they're running together. Ollie was faster than Jan, so he was kind of closing that gap. And Jan says, look, Ollie's clearly faster than me. Get him up behind me. Let me give him a tow down the whole backside and around. You know, I think we can pick up some time for him. We get on the radio to Ollie. Jan's going to tow you. He goes around. We went from running fourth or fifth, because I think Jan ended up fifth, to winning the pole. Not just winning the pole, but winning it by 0.3 of a second. I mean, that's a huge margin. That's penalty zone margin in the past, and we'll talk a little about that too, I'm sure. But that's teamwork. That's on-track teamwork. That's Jan saying, hey, I see him coming, let me see if I can't tow him and get him going. I mean, that to me was one of the most amazing moments in my career of all racing, and certainly at Corvette racing, to have those two guys work in concert like that and take Corvette to the front. That's the kind of guys they are. That's the kind of thinking they have. And I think it really manifested itself quite well in taking the pole, because there wasn't anybody in the paddock, including all our competitors, that figured we were going to be starting from there. And it, I had them all come up to me afterwards and say, God, that was just brilliant. I said, well, I sat down in the meeting before I went out there and I told them. That's a secret at GM. Just find something going someplace, get yourself out in front of it, really make it up, reverse engineer it. Anyway, so that's where we are. We're on a fairly limited time frame here, and I know question and answers are always fun for you guys. They're certainly fun for me. So why don't we go ahead and I'll open that up right now. And I'll talk about anything happening in the past, anything going on right now, anything that might be going on in the future. If I don't have a good answer, I'll make one up so convincing you won't know the difference. Key to success. Did I see a hand here? Yes. Do we know what the rotation of drivers will be and what the stints will be? As I stand here right now, the answer to that is I don't have a clue on the rotation. I'm going to guess it'll probably be Ollie and Jan starting, and then it'll move to Antonio and to Tommy, and then move to our new third drivers, Simon Pagenaud and Ryan Briscoe. And generally speaking, the way the temperature looks, for sure it'll be double stinting. So it won't be any quicker than 2 hours unless something really goes dramatically wrong. And we might squeeze a 3-hour stint out of somebody during the night. We will work around and try and be fair to the third seat guys, to not lean on them for an extended period of time in the car, because they're going to run a couple ticks slower than the core four. And so you don't want to spend a lot of time pressuring them to do better. So, they'll still do double stints, but we'll pick a time. We may change the order up as we get further in the race. That's kind of a figure it out as you go sort of thing, who's on, who's not. But double stinting for sure to start. Next question. Right here, and then I'll come to you. Are we pleased with the fuel consumption? Yeah, I'm going to say yes. And that's based on obviously some of the work that we've done, but to the sanctioning body's credit, and you don't hear me say this very often, and I'm going to say it probably once or twice more before we end this deal, they worked real hard to balance that out, to eliminate any artificial advantage that one vehicle may have over another. When you delve into the depths of really coming up with a scientific balance of performance rather than a balance of outcome, which only takes the seat of your pants to figure out. We have a new engineer in place at the sanctioning body who is a brilliant young man used to work at Pratt Miller, by the way, who has come up with a formula that I think is the first thing I've ever seen that really makes a huge amount of sense. As part of that philosophy, they work very hard to take fuel numbers from everybody, and they want everybody to be able to run, pick a number here, 28 laps. So whatever it takes you to run 28 laps, that's how big your fuel tank is going to be. So that the fuel economy situation can't be leveraged like it was several times in the past with yellow flags and team orders and other kinds of things. So it's one element they've taken out to try and improve the racing. So yes, I'm pleased with what we have done, because at Le Mans it won't be like that. Okay, so that's very important. But for all this year, it'll be everybody pretty much running the same amount of laps. So I think that's a good thing. Takes one more variable out of the picture and one more thing that I need to argue with them about. Yes?
You got a number 3 car yesterday morning, sounded not solid,
And yesterday morning we had number 3 car sounded a little bit off. You notice, sir, as you get a little older, your hearing will diminish to some degree. And so I would immediately attribute it to that, okay? There's different calibrations that we have the ability to put in to the engine that control the amount of spark that's in the engine, the amount of fuel that we're dumping in. And we run through a whole myriad of tests here. So yesterday morning was one of those instances where it was something they wanted to try. And you notice later in the day that kind of cleared right up. Yeah, that's all it was.
Why was he smaller?
Pardon me? The calibration was in the car, had too much spark pulled out of it. All right, in an effort to actually improve the fuel economy number, because we're always working at that, that's why. The minute you come back in, you see them put that laptop in, that reconfigures the ECM, and then that changes all those numbers. There's other things that go with that too. There's cam timing, everything else that we can kind of move around inside that ECM. So it was just one of those deals that was on the list to take a look at. It was pretty clear right away that it wasn't the direction to go, but until we go on there and give it a try, we don't know that. But we're good now. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do the drivers have any ability when they're in the car racing to make adjustments?
The question is, do the drivers in the car, while they're driving, have the ability to make adjustments? Yes. They have the ability to adjust several things, all right? They have the ability to adjust the front sway bar in the car, okay? That's a manual adjustment inside the vehicle. They have the ability to adjust the brake bias. That's the amount of braking force on front and rear wheels. They have the ability to switch to several different calibrations that we have programmed into the car, either a fuel conservation calibration or a high performance calibration. They have a push to pass button, similar to IndyCar, that gives them a short period of a few extra horsepower. And they have the ability to change the level of traction control in the car. And that's how sensitive the traction control is. You can dial it up or dial it down depending on the track conditions. So there's a number of things in there that they actually have manual control of. Yes? You bet. Sir? I'm sorry. I didn't.
Did you get penalized for being the pole?
Did we get penalized for? No. No, we didn't. No, which is in itself, based on history, pretty astounding. Which is why we were hoping to qualify fourth and fifth. But the reality of it is, this under the new regime, under this new young man that I just finished telling you about, has recognized something that we have been driving home for all of last year and this year. This track is really an anomaly. There's no track that's like Daytona for any number of reasons. So you really can't do any sort of balancing here. So they went and looked at last year's Daytona, and that's what they came up with for the Daytona adjustment. Right now, the next race obviously will be Sebring. So they're looking through all the 2014 data to come up with what they think will be the best, the ideal situation for everybody at Sebring. But no penalty for qualifying on the pole, and no result in this race will have any bearing on what's done for this season in the future balancing that goes on. So Daytona is a standalone event. It's not influenced by anything, and it's not going to influence anything. So.
Are they going to do that for every race?
Are they going to do that for every race? Here's the philosophy. the program is so sophisticated that they've employed. The concept is that ideally you would look at all 2014, make a single adjustment, and you'd never have to touch it again. It would be that good. That's their ultimate goal. I think we all know that that's pretty strident effort required to do that. But there are going to be a minimum amount of changes. The rules allow you 3 changes throughout the year. The rules allow that. I don't know that we'll see that. We'll have to see the strength of this program. So I you know, when I've looked at what he's put down there and the way they're approaching this thing, I'm pretty confident that they're going to get it right. So what I expect, and the short answer to your question, they're going to look at the data after every event. All right? But they're not going to make a change after every event. They think they have it strong enough right now. Now, after the second event, might there be one change? Could be. But the way they've got tracks categorized, they've got corners categorized. It's amazing what they have done. It is truly as scientific as you can possibly be to get an accurate and correct balance of performance. So time will tell. Right now it looks really good on paper, but we've been down roads before that look good on paper, and practical application has been pretty sucky. So we'll see how it goes. We're encouraged. All right? We went from discouraged to encouraged. That's a big swing. But we'll see what happens. Yes, sir.
Regarding the performance parameters, the driver has control today in the race situation. How much goes the C7 racing?
This is a really good question. All the things we've learned in the driver's ability in the race car to manually control the performance of the vehicle, how much of that has really equated into the new C7 and Z06 to actually have the driver control the ride characteristics and the handling characteristics of the car. In broad brush terms, it's been immense because they've learned how you can really change how a car feels to the driver by making pretty subtle little changes. Doesn't have to be anything monstrous. So it's, if anything, it's more of the philosophy of allowing the driver to control what he needs to be comfortable. Whether it's the full-out track setting or it's the, you know, Mambo Granny driving down the highway setting, okay? The ability to be able to make that wild swing was demonstrated to have a huge net worth to you as the consumer. And the race car kind of taught him that. So once again, it's just another testament to the tech transfer that we talk about so often. In the race car yielding a better road car, yielding a better race car, cascade engineering, you've heard that. You know, we move our way up until we have the new Z06, which is, I'll tell you, I mean, did anybody read the article in the new Automobile magazine? You know, what went around, I mean, this guy that wrote the article is not a Corvette fan guy. I mean, he does, you know, he has no dog in the fight. But he got out of that thing and said, this thing's a race car. It's on the street, but it's a race car and you can go get groceries in it. So if you get a chance, go online, see if you can find it. Automobile magazine, it's a great article. Addresses exactly some of the things you're talking about. Anything else? It's a pretty easy. Can you hear me in the back? Anything else? Yes, sir.
Last year, when you were so penalized at times, did you ever feel like running one lap and putting them on the truck?
The question is, last year, when you were penalized so severely and so often, did you ever feel like just going out and running one lap and putting them on the truck? You know, I like to share inside stuff with you that we don't talk about in the media. Yeah. Not only did we feel like it, we talked about it. Okay? We talked about it. Because I want to tell you, it's a big ticket to go down to Atlanta and run for 12 hours just for the hell of it. All right? Is there an outside chance you could win? Yeah. You know, but when you think about what it costs to do that, knowing full well what we could have spent that money on testing and developing and making ourselves get better, it was a meaningful conversation that I think everybody knew what the end result was going to be, but you still had to put it out on the table, you still had to talk about it, and you still had to think about it. Ultimately, do you know why we showed up there? You guys. I said to them, look, because I brought the idea up. And I said, we need to temper this, we need to have this discussion. But I said, at the end of the day, you need to think about what Petit Le Mans is before we make any decision here. There are people, our fans, who schedule vacation days, who have bought tickets, who have arranged for babysitters and dog sitters, who have rented motor homes. I said, and for us just to come out and say, well, we're not going because there's no real sense in going, that's not true. There's a huge sense in going. We have a fan base out there that deserves to see us in good days and on bad days. And ultimately, that was a relatively short conversation. It only took us about 2 days of moving it around before we realized, you know, we're going. And we did. So you guys give yourselves a round of applause. That's why we clap. That's applause. We were there because of you. Just like we're here because of you. So we don't forget that. But yes, 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 and yes. And it felt really good to talk about it. Really good to talk about it. Well, show them. See how they like that. See how good that TV show is. Yeah, a little venting going on. At the end of the day, we went racing. Another question. I gotta stretch this out here till our drivers get here. Who knows if they'll be on time? Those guys, honest to God. Yes?
Doc, you're going to try to run out front no matter what, or you're going to run on a pace?
No. Yeah, here's our pace. Mash on the gas, point it in the right direction, and hope for the best. That's our pace. No, you know, you can sit back and map out strategies, and in the old days you did that. But in today's world, they have the mechanical part of this thing down, they being us and everybody else, that the cars in a perfect world are designed to be hit as hard as they can be hit for 24 consecutive hours. So the minute you decide you're going to play it smart, and you're just going to, well, I'm going to pick my pace for that first 6 hours and we'll just settle it, you're 3 laps down. You can't do it. You have to be willing to run every lap as if it's the last lap. Keep your fingers crossed, rely on what you've done. Ultimately, and you've heard me say this before, it's not the fastest guy who wins. It's the guy who spends the least amount of time in pit lane.
Right.
The Bible. Don't hit anything, don't break anything, keep it on the racetrack. You do those 3 things, good things will happen. So our whole philosophy is you run every lap as hard as you possibly can. Lean on the guys in the pits to do a great job. Hope the tires hold up. Keep your nose clean. That's going to bring you a high level of success. It's worked for us in the past. We're not abandoning that. Others have followed that same format. This is as much about the human element as it is the mechanical element. And guys make all this happen, from the guys behind the wheels to the guys who are running the parts out of the truck to the guys who are changing tires in the pit stop. That's a chain with a bunch of different links. Every one of them's got to be super tough. You can't have one of them fail. Otherwise the whole thing's in the dumper. And we've got, I think, the best group of guys out there, and I think we've demonstrated that year in and year out under a variety of conditions when there was no hope to win a race. You've seen us wreck the car, and you've seen those guys jump on that thing, turn around and get it right back out there. That's the sheer pride they have in Corvette racing. The pride in what they do. Because they know people are going to watch that and think, holy jeez, how did they do that? And it's not, a race goes by where I don't have a competitor come up to me and say, boy, we've stood back and watched it. We have no idea how to do what you guys do. That's what makes us who we are. Pride in what we do regardless of circumstances. Yes, sir.
Putting the schedule together, tracks were in, tracks were out, everybody had an opinion, and some people had last year, not in this year. Are you waiting for the agenda, or
The schedule. The question, yeah, another good topic. Question is the schedule this year, you know, and basically saying, how do they determine that? Who gets picked, who doesn't? Do they talk to us about it? They actually, for the first time ever, they did actually ask us about it. Not that they necessarily were going to do anything about it, but they asked us about it. And it did influence them to some degree. The schedule that we have again, have to give them credit, is from our perspective about as good a schedule as you could ever possibly have. It's got great racetracks, the schedule timing and cadence is good. I mean, it fits, and we like going the places we go, and we're not going to places that we don't like. So, yes, they talk to us, yes, they listen, and I think we're pretty pleased with where we are right now, which is pretty much an overlay of last year, which was pretty good. The one noticeable track, well, there may be more than one, Mid-Ohio. Any Midwesterners here? Yeah. That's an issue that they know about, and that's an issue that we're looking at. And I'll give you a brief explanation of how that business works, and it'll help you understand. First of all, putting a schedule together is impossible to do. I don't know how they do it. It's impossible. It's just impossible. You know, you try and pick a day, fit it in between the other events, what's going on, and hockey playoffs, and basketball, and who knows, the baseball World Series. I mean, there's all kinds of things that get in the way of actually having a race. So it's a real minefield that you have to walk through, and they do a marvelous job with that, a marvelous job with it. And I think that part of that is that if you and I own a racetrack, okay, and we want to have this race at our racetrack, we pick up the phone, call up, hey Scott, we really want to have a race at our track. Scott says, fine. What dates do you have open? Well, let's just say that falls into line. Okay, cool. Now comes a question of price. Okay, the track owner pays Tudor what they call a sanctioning fee. So pick a number, $350,000. The track owner writes a check to Tudor for $350,000. Then Tudor brings the show. Then it's incumbent on the track owner to make back his $350,000 with ticket prices and the concession stands and parking. Some places, that's a pretty easy deal to make back. Other track owners are a little more conservative and are a little concerned. Maybe they have 4 races that summer that are all back to back, and they know regionally their spectators only have a certain amount of fixed income that they can spend on viewing racing firsthand. So they have to balance all those things in their own mind and in their own business to make that happen. And the way Mid-Ohio was structured with the dates that were available for them, with their big motorcycle race and their historic race and their IndyCar race, they made a decision last year and this year, because you have to do this a couple years out, that they couldn't make the money back. There wasn't going to be enough money there. So, and I fully support their decision not to do it, because they have to stay in business. But that's just one of the elements that goes on for that. It's not just pick and choose and say, yeah, okay, you got it, you don't. A whole lot that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen. Very complex. So, anything else? Yes, sir. Corvette racing, I got that part. And what rear engine what? Did you say? Did I hear you say Zora? Huh? Oh, C8 now it is, not the Zora. I gotta sit down with you guys and get caught up on some of this stuff. Do we have another question out there?
That is good though. Yesterday I heard when they were doing qualifying, IMSA came out and said something to the effect of, you better run haul out. If you don't, we're going to find out today or next time, and we're going to penalize you.
The question became that yesterday during qualifying, IMSA came out and said, you guys better run as hard as you can. No sandbagging here, because if we find out you're sandbagging, you're going to get penalized. That's pretty much what we heard all winter long. Okay? That's what they're going to do. And for the first time, I have no reason to believe that they're not going to do it. I mean, there is no sense in having rules if you don't have any enforcement. Rules create order. We may not like them, but they create order. And you can write all the rules that you want. If you don't enforce any of them, you have no order. I honestly believe that this year, should somebody fall outside the window that they demonstrated on track in qualifying and being able to do it on a, will call type of basis, yeah, I think they're going to get penalized.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't have anything to worry about in that realm, I can tell you that right now. Yes, sir.
You're in the Tudor series, but you're going to go Le Mans. I figure, what are the different considerations for Le Mans? What are you going to do different? how do you approach that race?
The